Okay, hello again. It's Rank Carcass RC, whichever you prefer. It's Global War 3645. We just completed the turn of July 1939. That video for all powers is in two parts. And this is the summary video. The first part was taking forever because one, Germany had to do its attacks. Then it had to do its second impulse attacks for land and air units. And then after that, I rolled all the first round of combat for the naval units. And then we did the Vichy roll. Figured out what Vichy gets, what it doesn't get. And then we figured out what happens to the to the French Navy. And then I did non-combat move all the German stuff that was now German that used to be French Navy. And move the Vichy stuff around and all that other craziness. And yeah, that was a really long turn. And it took me a couple of hours. Not count, I think the video was about an hour long, but that's what I edited out. I had to do a little bit of setting up and whatever in between. So I hope I got everything right. But I got a couple of comments in my video, which is beautiful. Thank you for your comments. And I believe it was James Guderian that pointed out the very important point about advanced anti-submarine warfare is the only time that your units can shoot back while on escort against convoying subs. So this past turn here, I had inadvertently gifted advanced anti-submarine warfare technology to both the British and the French, and I'm just going to flip to that for a second here. So if you take a peek at page 45 in the rule book, where'd my pointer go? I just buried the pointer in there. If you take a peek at page 45 of the rule book here, you will be able to, once I get rid of that clearly see that convoy rating, you do the roll D6 back and forth. Here's your escort, +1 escort, and then coastals and submarines give you a +2 for your roll. And then in point 3, escorting units and nations with advanced anti-submarine warfare technology make defense roll against submarines. Otherwise you don't. So all those dead German subs should not have been dead. They should have been hunted down by either a combat air patrol, seaplane, regular plane, or a carrier-based aircraft. That never happened. So technically they should be all alive. But with the way everything rolled out and the fact that that video is more than an hour long and it was live in game and it's going to be impossible to go back, I'm happy with skipping that since I've done the turn of everybody else in the game as though those subs were no longer there. The results of that roll were amazing for Germany. So yeah, they might have lost 3 subs and a coastal sub, but they gained a sub, a destroyer, and a transport free from the French in exchange. And the French only kept 1 destroyer, 1 seaplane, and 2 commanders. So that's a fair exchange in my books. The French may not feel that was fair, but the Germans do. And there's this one other thing. I believe this was Sergeant Power Surge sent me in the comments section. I was asking about Portugal, since the home country died, what happens to the colonies, and he told me about page 48 in the rule book. And it says defeating a minor power, defeating a player nation. It goes into what's going on here. And then my one question about, well, what happens to that boat that's in the middle of the boat that's in the middle of the ocean that Portuguese had, that destroyer off the coast. And I was informed by General Hand Grenade, who said he was talking to one of the creators of the game previously. And, sorry, I'm just switching stands here. One of the creators of the game, and that boat was right here from Portugal. But apparently once the home country is taken, the colonies remain under control of the controller, but the boats that happen to be sitting right next to the home country will be scuttled. So there we go. Yeah, those are my corrections for all of the things I did wrong or did not know, and my little shout outs to those of you who are throwing me comments that make sense. And I believe it was James Guderian also had a question about the Russian income. So I'm just going to go over my the way I do Russian income here. Russian wartime income is technically their home territory. So everything that's on the map with their roundel and its dollar value. And I believe it's 46 when it's at full wartime income. And this is how it's worked itself up. And this second roundel I have here, the only reason it's all goes into Russian pocket at the end of the turn. But this is what they have from conquering Iran and Portugal and stuff like this. So this is outside of that. And this is the number that you're going to be rolling up starting July 1939. And in order to not get that confused by, say, taking Iran and then losing Iran or who knows what happens in the meantime, I just use separate roundels for that, just so that you don't artificially inflate or deflate the Russian home territory income. All right, so that's that. And yeah, now let's get on to what actually happened. Well, we're pointing at it. So Spain. Nationalists came in and they spanked the Republicans. Spanked them good. Republicans had a unit here. They moved it to here and took it from the Nationalists. Then they did a recruitment roll and got this dude. There you go. That one's pretty much a foregone conclusion. The only other units that are in question are these units here, the naval units, and the naval units up here, the cruiser and the transport. I don't think either side really wants to get too involved in that. The Russians may want to slap that, the Russian-controlled Republicans may want to slap that down. I didn't even think of that last turn. But that's an option, if they can get to it. It all depends on whether they have any units left at the end of the turn. Because once the home territory is taken and it's completely annihilated, the losing faction is going to have their ship scuttled. So that'll be the end of that. Although the war technically isn't won, so if Russia wants to steal a point from the Germans, they're not really prepared for it right now, but they could declare war on Germany and align these guys, and then this civil war will never have been completed. That's a sneaky, dirty way to steal a point from the Axis. I believe Russia and Italy get a point from that. But looking at the way the Russians are sitting here and the fact that they wouldn't get their full income from that, that would be kind of foolish for the Russians. Okay, so a quick rundown on what Germany did. Germany decided to bypass Belgium, that's still neutral, and they went in here and they slapped down the Maginot Line. One round of rolling and they eliminated everybody. They got spanked back a little bit, but not too bad. And then from there, on the second impulse in this area, most of the units that were here went either up into here and attacked that stack. There was a fairly substantial stack of units up there. And then the rest of it, actually these units here, went down and took out a single infantry. This airborne was actually landed there, impulse 1. And then just walked into here, impulse 2. Both were empty and undefended. All right, then the Vichy thing happened. But what else Germany did on its first impulse was it amphibiously assaulted here, split its navy and attacked that Polish torpedo boat destroyer, and assaulted over land from Stettin into West Poland. And then in the second impulse, it attacked into Warsaw, and it brought along this armored train and a tank from Lorraine to join in on this Donetsk assault. And that was also part 1. All right, then Russia and during the turn, both Russia and Germany agreed to the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. It's just a win-win for both sides. If you're not in a position to attack each other, why don't you take a free money on both sides for nothing? And then when you are in range of attacking each other, which you were going to do anyway, or not do, you can just do it. But I mean, you're saying no to free money. It's crazy not to. So yeah, Vichy happened. They only took this place that was worth money. Otherwise, they took a few no money places. I think they got the New Caledonia by Australia. The French only kept this one boat. And like I said, this one commander here, the seaplane, and the new commander they got for being at war with Germany. France had to put a new capital either in Algeria or in the Belgian Congo. But the Belgian Congo is technically a neutral country since it never got activated. So I didn't think that would be the smartest thing to do. And it's not too far away from these Italians. We could have slapped their capital away from them again. So they put it up in London instead. I got the little arch there to signify the French capital. All right, so that's that. Let's see, Russia. They attacked the Azores there, so they took that island out. That way nobody else can use it. The best thing for Russia is for everybody else to be fighting. Russia also took out southern Iran with the troops that were sitting in Azerbaijan. So that's a win for Russia. Some more units and some more victory points there. That's all Russia really did. They did a $9 increase to their income, so they went from 8 to 17. That was good. The CCP attacked here with these Russian planes and some infantry. They lost all their infantry and then they ran away because they didn't want to lose planes attacking infantry and not being able to take the land over. Japan then took this place and this place from the KMT. And they heavily reinforced this stack down here. These are, I think, 6 light tanks. No, that's 7 light tanks. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 light tanks, 5 infantry. What do we got there? 4, 5, 6. 6 elite Marines defending at 5 and attacking at 3. A commander. And then they got all these planes on this island here. And then there's 2 fighters and a tactical in this fleet. It's on the card over there. That can all reach here. So the KMT turtled everything in there. They got a lend-lease from the US of another artillery and built a militia and a infantry with the money. But they're down to $3 now. $2 from their owner. $2 from their land, I think. I don't know where they make money now. Whatever. They're down to $1 or $2. And I'll have to double check the incomes on everybody at the end of the turn. Or that's before I start the next turn. Siam was aligned by the Japanese. I did it at the start of the turn, but I didn't give anybody any of the I didn't use these guys for the Japanese because I couldn't remember if it was at the start or the end. It didn't say anything anywhere in there, so I would assume it's at the start. But just in case I didn't use them for anything. Alright. These guys didn't have a lot of money. They just built an artillery. And they sent in some Navy to slap down German sub. Australia had a bunch of money saved up. They built a destroyer and an infantry. The Dutch, they moved. This was originally in the Netherlands. They got this Navy this far so far. So they're pretty much all combined here. Makes sense for the Dutch. Let's see. Italians, they just built some stuff. The US just did a whole bunch of tech rolls. And lend-leased something. So really, the only people that are at war are the British and the French versus the Germans. And yeah, we'll see. So Germany hasn't had a real chance to build anything up or do anything with this. So we'll see what happens at the end of the German turn, because they got those $53 over there to use. So that should be quite handy. And I believe my incomes are 37 for the Germans now, 29 for the Japanese, and then in third we have 24 for the British. Russia's actually at 17, but they have the 5 extra from the conquered territories, like I was saying earlier, so they're really at 22. And the US went up $5 for the attack by Germany against Britain and France, and then they rolled $1 extra, so they're at, I believe they're at 6, or no, they're at 9, and then they moved up to 14, and then they rolled up 1. And the Russians were at 8, and they rolled a 9 to 17. KMT slapped way down there. Full income for the Australians, full income for the FAC. Italy's still out of the war and no bonuses. They're not even at full income, which is 10, because they're at peace. Vichy's established with 2, and that's all fair and good. These techs are all active this turn. Let me back up a little bit. So we got the only one that was used was the cheaper building of Navy for the Japanese. The Americans were rolling for jets, heavy bombers, long-range aircraft, and strategic rockets for that victory point. The only one they were successful on was the long-range aircraft. All of them will be handy for them except for the rockets. However, you know, the rockets aren't very useful. But we'll see what happens there. So yeah, you can roll as many tech as you want. So it's $2 a piece. So if you want to roll all 13, you know, go nuts. But that's $26 out of your pocket that you're not putting on the map. So that's pretty crazy. All right, so I believe I've covered pretty much everything. And yeah, thank you for your comments. They help me stay correct and pick up all the little tiny mistakes you don't even realize you've made, and then have somebody else point them out. It's kind of like having somebody else playing the game with you. Only problem is I gotta wait till the video's out and I get corrected on that. All right. Anyway, you guys have a good time, and I'm gonna start doing January 1940. It won't be tomorrow, it'll probably be the day after. I'm going to be pretty busy tomorrow. So, all right. Anyway, guys have a good one. See you in a bit. Bye.